And we're live. All right. So welcome everybody. It's great to see you guys on a beautiful day here. Basically the way things are going to go today is I'm going to let things build up, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to answer your questions live in real time. Anything you have about ketogenic dieting, ketones, etc., etc. So for now, where are you guys coming from? Alicia's here. What's up, Alicia? Can you see if you're seeing that? Great. Morning, Robert. It's good to see you. James, what's up? Good to see you. What's up, everybody? It's great to see everybody. I tell you what, we're super excited. We got Keto Academies coming up at the end of March, and I'll be speaking there. So super excited about that. Going to be showing some new data that we've been collecting. A lot of great stuff in the lab here. We've been collecting data 24/7 on exogenous ketones and their benefits that they actually have. So we're really inspired and excited about that. But here's the thing. Enough about me. It's all about you today. And what we're going to do is a Q&A. Anything you guys have, shoot my way. I'm going to take on your questions. Good morning, Trisha, or good afternoon, Trisha. Good to see you. Someone's coming from India. Wow, that's awesome. Hey, Sandra, what's up? So, guys, go ahead and jump in and ask any questions that you have, and I'll take them live. There's no questions yet. Okay. Oh, here's a question from Emily. How do ketones in your body not cause ketoacidosis? I'm insulin resistant, PCOS, but after giving birth... Okay, so basically the question is, how do ketones in your body not cause ketoacidosis? Here's the thing to understand, Emily. Uncontrolled increases in ketones in your blood cause ketoacidosis. Your body, under normal conditions, like where you see, like for example, if you take keto OS, you're really talking about going up maybe 1 to 2 millimolars in ketone levels in your blood. That's within normal physiological ranges. So if you're within normal physiological range that you would normally hit with a ketogenic diet, your body buffers acid. So you're going to stay within a normal pH. You will not be going to ketoacidosis. That condition happens in uncontrolled diabetes, and in that case, that's when you actually have a problem. Hey, Andy, there we go. Okay, so, how do type 2 diabetics benefit from exogenous ketones? Well, ketones themselves seem to help lower blood glucose, so that would be beneficial. Okay. Yeah, my mic's on. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to have Andy here is actually going to ask the question. And go ahead and say their names.
Okay. So, Stacy, what about just higher acidity versus alkalinity in ketones?
Well, again, your body's going to buffer. Your body will actually buffer, keep your pH normal. So, in other words, if acidity goes up, it's going to buffer it down. You'll stay within a normal range. So, but there's no way that taking ketones is going to make you more basic.
Anna, does Keto OS start losing its potency once you mix it into a drink?
No.
Connie, what about blood pressure? My husband's went up way after taking Keto OS.
So here's the thing, Connie. The thing to understand is that when you're talking about lifestyle, there are numerous things that happen in lifestyle that could cause an increase in blood pressure. So, for example, someone might start taking Keto OS and then they say, oh, now I can do whatever I want. Their lifestyle changes, and that's what increases blood pressure. But the Keto OS itself is not increasing blood pressure.
Sylvia, what should I do when my body is stalled and I'm not seeing any changes in body composition or energy?
So Sylvia, we're actually getting ready to do with Prove It. We're getting ready to do a huge setup where we give you guys information on how to lose body fat, both with exercise and diet. I think the biggest thing to understand is that there are numerous ways to lose weight. and it's going to all depend on you. One of the things that we do recommend is kind of a modified intermittent fast. And basically that's where you wake up in the morning and you start your day off instead of just, we know intermittent fasting causes you to lose fat. And essentially that's what's time restricted feeding. So for example, you might start eating at noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon and stop eating at 8 or 9 at night. Now for breakfast, you're essentially going to start off the morning with a modified fast where it's called a fat fast, where you wake up with keto cream. So in that case, lots of studies have shown you lose fat with that. Now, if you stop losing body fat on a diet, you need to add in exercise. In fact, you should have exercise all the time because research has actually shown that exercise increases your ability to use ketones in your brain. So the combination goes together well. Now, for you guys who are going to Keto Academy at the end of March, and I highly recommend it, I'm going to be talking there. Ryan Lowry's going to be talking there, and we're going to give advice on how to exercise and train so that you optimize the keto system.
Sandra, explain the percentage if increase in ATP with ketones over glucose. What do you see in athletes? So basically, how does ketones provide more ATP than glucose?
Great question, Sandra. So basically, what Dr. Veach's lab shown and other labs have shown is that, and actually us as well, we've basically shown that ketones are a more efficient fuel. So basically, you produce more ATP per amount of oxygen you consume when you take ketones. Now, for you guys who aren't sure what ATP is, it's energy. So when you go to the gas station, you fill up your car with gas, that's the currency of energy, right? In our body, the currency of energy is ATP. So you produce more ATP with ketones than glucose or any other fuel. So it's a phenomenal fuel, and that would be the answer.
How do type 2 diabetics benefit from exogenous ketones?
Well, type 2 diabetics are insulin resistant, and their blood glucose levels are higher at rest. In fact, the diagnosis for type 2 diabetes is at rest, your blood glucose is really high. Ketones themselves in lots of studies have been shown to lower blood glucose, and they improve insulin sensitivity, so that's how it helps type 2 diabetics.
Is it better to take 1/2 of keto max at a time then the other half 3 hours later, or take one full pack at once?
So that all depends on you. One thing we know is this: for what we've been doing research in our lab is that you can get benefits from a half a pack, but you do get more benefits when you take the full pack. So you could consider taking one pack early and another pack later. If you're just starting off and you're getting used to it, you could start with that protocol half and half.
Jesse asks, customer is sensitive to butyric acid and asks if BHB in Keto OS breaks down into butyric acid.
So butyrate is very super beneficial for you guys who don't know. Has lots of benefits in the brain and things of that nature. And yes, ketones could interconvert between like butyrate and ketones. That'd be beneficial.
Can ketones induce weight loss? If so, how soon?
So here's the thing, with ketones and weight loss, the thing we know about ketones is that ketones itself seem to improve satiety, right? So also we've done research where ketones decrease feed efficiency. So basically what that means is that we've done studies where we found that ketones make you store less weight per calorie that you consume. So all these things could be beneficial to fat loss, and then more recently we found that ketones can increase things like muscle building processes, and that actually will keep your metabolism elevated. So those are the three ways that ketones could be beneficial to your body composition.
Mabel asks, my doctor just told me that to take a week off of ketogenic dieting every 30 days. Would you suggest that?
So here's the thing. With ketogenic dieting, you have to be very careful when you're doing cyclic ketogenic dieting, because that's what that means when you come off. Because we did a study where basically on the weekends we had people eat carbs, and that was a problem. They ended up not keto adapting. So if you do decide, I don't necessarily recommend taking a whole week off ever of ketogenic dieting, because if you're doing a weight loss diet, but if you're going to, definitely make sure you take enough ketones that week. And the other thing is when you come off, do not go very high carbohydrate because you'll gain a lot of fat back. So it's more like go a moderate low carb diet if you're going to do something like that. So do I recommend it? Not really. If you do, be conservative when you come off. Don't just start eating tons of carbs.
How do ketones starve cancer?
Okay, so again, cancers, Dr. Angela Poff will be talking about this at Keto Academy, right? There's a lot of things that you really want to understand with ketones and ketogenic dieting in general. The main thing that we know is that, like, here's the thing: cancer cells thrive off of glucose. Okay, so basically they can't use things like fat very well or ketones very well, and so basically, like on a ketogenic diet, your other cells are able to use ketones, but cancer cells not. And also when you do a ketogenic diet, blood glucose lowers, and so your cancer cells don't have as much glucose to use. And that's very, very important to understand. But you're providing your other cells with a usable, viable source of energy, which are ketones. Now, intriguingly enough, Dr. Angela Poff found that when you do a ketogenic diet and you add ketones on top of that, it actually kills more cancer cells. And if you're not doing a ketogenic diet and you take ketones, it also kills cancer cells as well. So the reasons for that are not entirely certain, but we do know that that happens.
Brittany asks, when you start drinking ketones, will your body stop naturally making ketones?
Brittany, great question. You need to you have to get ketone levels up very high to stop endogenous ketone formation. Okay? So you're talking about more like over 3 millimolars, over 3.5 millimolars. Now remember, when you take Keto OS, you're really raising ketone levels by like 1 to 2 millimolars, so you're not going to shut off your normal endogenous production of ketogenesis.
David asks, would taking excess exogenous ketones, if your body's already making them, would that excess of ketones be stored as fat?
So David, here's the thing. Ketones are going to be real hard to store as fat just because they make you less efficient. A lot of people are like, oh, is it extra calories? If you look at like the Keto Max, for example, it's very few calories. It's only a couple dozen calories really. So you're talking about like 40 calories. 40 calories is not going to make you gain fat. So the answer is very unlikely. Something that makes you less efficient and makes you more satiated, right? That's only 40 calories. That's not enough of a load to make you gain fat. So the answer is no.
Susie asks, I have a customer that has trouble sleeping since trying Keto OS. What do you know what would cause that?
So the thing is, before bed, you don't want to necessarily take the charged Keto OS. So it could be that they're just taking the charged Keto OS too late at night, and that's not a ketone thing. That's a don't take caffeine too late at night. So take that charged kind earlier in the day, and then take the non-charged at night.
What would be the best way, other than blood tests, to check if you're in a ketogenic state?
Well, the best way is definitely blood to detect if you're in a ketogenic state. So basically, urine is a good way when you first start ketogenic dieting, but when your body gets real good at using ketones, urine's not going to show up anymore. And so I guess the second best way is going to be basically doing the breath test. Is a possible way to test that you're in keto. But to be quite honest, you know what my favorite way is? Right now I'm pumped up and my ketone levels are high. I can tell you right now because I just took ketones. So the best way is like how you feel. Like I feel great right now. So clearly, that I'm getting that ketogenic effect. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like you should feel something, along with checking your blood levels. So.
How would Celeste ask, what is the effect of exogenous ketones on testosterone?
Celeste, that's a really cool name. With testosterone levels, the thing to understand is that I don't know that we know if, ketones raise testosterone levels. what I do know is that they seem to be so testosterone seems to help maintain muscle mass and help build muscle mass. Ketones seem to do the same thing. So, and by the way, there's a ton of people on right now. You guys are freaking awesome. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate it, guys. Keep up the great work.
Terry asks, what happens when you eat carbs, then drink ketone? What is the preferential fuel source that's burned?
Well, Terry, I think one of the things that really excites me about the whole exogenous ketone field is that it's your body that will determine what's ideal, right? It always will determine what's ideal. So what studies show is when given the choice, both your brain and your muscle, when given the choice between exogenous ketones or carbohydrates, they select ketones. So I mean, if your body selects that as the ultimate fuel, that's what you should be doing too. So,
Jody, what is the average time of Keto OS? A full serving increases ketones in the bloodstream.
So that's usually you raise ketone levels for a few hours after. So it'd be similar to like a meal, right? So basically, it elevates and peaks in about 30 to 60 minutes, and then the levels are going to be sustained for 2 or 3 hours, and then it'd be good to either take like a keto cream or take Keto OS again after that.
Karen, is there any information on ketogenic diet and kidney diseases?
Ketogenic dieting and kidney disease, no, not an expert in that, not that I know of.
If I'm naturally in a state of ketosis from diet, should I still supplement with ketones?
To answer that last question, because I'm not sure how that phrases it, safe. Dom has done studies on safety with ketones on kidney function and found they were safe. So if that helps answer your question. And then I missed that question.
If already in ketosis, should you supplement with more ketones?
Here's the thing. Like ketones there's a dose-dependent response between ketone uptake in the brain and the amount of ketones in your blood. So I do ketogenic dieting, but like my blood ketone levels, are usually naturally, and I do strict ketogenic dieting like 0.5 to 0.5 millimolar. So I feel more of a zone. I'm over 1. So even though I'm keto, exogenous ketones actually enhance that benefit. The other thing I'm going to also say is this, that it depends. Like everyone goes to different levels of stress. So for me, I travel a lot, for example. So right now we're doing a bunch of studies with Prove It, looking at like ketones, exogenous ketones, and so we're doing studies all the time. That takes time, and you lose a lot of sleep doing that. So that's stress. That raises stress hormones, and it makes it harder to stay in ketosis. The other thing is I travel a lot. So next week I'm going to travel for like professional athletes to the NFL Combine. Then I'm going to travel to the Arnold Classic, where Prove It's going to be. Then I come back and I have to film for a movie that's going to be in theaters, and then I got to fly out to California. That stress makes it difficult. Stress hormones go up, and it makes it hard to get my ketone sustained. Because of that, you're going to want to make sure that I want to make sure my ketones stay elevated, and that's why I take the Keto OS on top of ketogenic dieting. Firefighters, I kind of want to say, Elizabeth asked about what about stress on firefighters. That's a close subject to me because my dad was a firefighter, and the thing about firefighters, they constantly they're sleep deprived a lot too, and they're under a lot of stress, and my dad get a lot of inflammation and stuff like that, and my dad has a lot of war injuries from being a firefighter, a lot of surgeries from being a firefighter, and a lot of inflammation. And ketones, there's studies being published that it helps with wound healing, and it helps with recovery, and it helps buffer sleep deprivation. So all those things I think are good for firefighters.
Margie, my stomach has been upset since starting Keto OS. Will this go away?
So Margie, there's a couple things when you talk about upset stomach. One thing is, did you change your diet? Because a lot of times people, they want to do the whole keto lifestyle. So they take ketones, they realize the powerful benefit of ketones, and then they go, hey, now I'm going to change my diet. That could also cause an upset stomach. If you've changed nothing else, then what I would say is like your gut is just like your muscles. Your stomach's just like your muscles. It adapts. So what I would do is start with a small dose. When your stomach adapts to that, up it, then up it to the full dose, and that should take care of that.
Can ketones be beneficial for muscular dystrophy?
So actually, in my graduate school work, a lot of my research was looking at preventing muscle loss in situations like age-related muscle loss and muscular dystrophy. With muscular dystrophy, you have a lot of inflammation. You can't recover from anything, and so it's obviously a degenerative disease. Now, there's not studies on muscular dystrophy yet with ketones, but I would hypothesize it could be beneficial, especially with the inflammatory response. In fact, we looked at a substance, actually going to that point. The research that I used to do was a substance that was similar to BHB. It was called HMB. And I think the way it was working is HMB was converting over to the ketone BHB. And basically we found in animal studies that it prevented muscle loss in the dystrophy condition. So like I said, I would hypothesize yes.
Are ketones good for hypothyroidism?
Are ketones good for hypothyroidism? I think if you look at the conditions of hypothyroidism, thanks, Amy. If you look at the conditions on hypothyroidism, basically people have lethargy, like they have low energy, metabolisms are lower, they don't feel like doing as much, they're apathetic, and ketones provide a valuable energy source that can help overcome that. Now, so I would hypothesize that could be beneficial for that.
Drinking alcohol with ketones.
Drinking alcohol with ketones. I mean, if the question is, will I get kicked out of keto if I drink alcohol? Therefore, will ketones be beneficial? In that sense, it'll help get you back in faster. But I think it depends. Or if the question is, does alcohol inhibit being in ketosis? That all depends. If you're having mixed drinks like margaritas, that's no bueno. If you're having things like more hardcore alcohol that actually could stimulate you to be more into ketosis. So it's really what drinks you decide.
So either Keto-S or Keto Max during the intermittent fast, or just the Keto Cream?
Well, here's the thing. I would say I like Keto Cream and Keto Max, but to be honest, all the ketone products are great. So it's really what you prefer. Personally, I have Keto Cream and Keto Max. Someone goes, will the keto lifestyle cause James? Will the keto lifestyle cause atrophy due to the fat burning process due to increased fuel burn? James, it'll cause atrophy of fat cells, not muscle. And in fact, there's lots of studies all the way back to the 70s that show ketogenic dieting, especially if you keep your protein at about 20-25%, can be anti-atrophy to muscles.
Can you build up a tolerance to exogenous ketones, therefore having to take more of them?
What you can do, when you take ketones, your body gets better at using them. So I don't know if that's a tolerance, but I think you get better at using them. Oh, keto less beneficial for GI disease like Crohn's. So here's the thing. Any disease that's inflammatory in nature, ketones can be beneficial for because they're anti-inflammatory. Thanks, Betsy. I really appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in.
So you said that stress can lower your ketone level even if you're on a strict ketogenic diet. Can you really get kicked out of ketosis despite not eating carbs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Because basically when you're under high levels of stress and cortisol rise up high enough, that creates like the production of glucose, and it's called gluconeogenesis, and that can kick you out.
A lot of questions on dehydration. Can you go over through some standard protocols to stay hydrated while on a ketogenic diet?
Yeah, and Stephanie, I'll get to your question after on MS, but hydration, basically it's real simple, okay? One, on a ketogenic diet, make sure you salt your foods. That's kind of really important, okay? Because When insulin's low, you basically pee out a lot of sodium. So that lends to you being more dehydrated. So make sure you salt your foods. It's going to help you stay hydrated. Also take things like magnesium and other minerals. That will help with cramping. And then finally, it's real simple. The best gauge is when you actually go and pee, it should be light like lemonade. If it's dark, you're dehydrated. So drink so that when you actually go pee, that it's light like lemonade. That's what we do with athletes. So if it's like dark like beer, you need to drink more fluid. So basically, monitor yourself in that fashion. On the question on MS, there are studies with MS with elevating ketone levels, and they've been positive. Most neurological disorders seem to benefit. In fact, most neurological disorders, you have dysfunctional ability to utilize glucose. So providing an alternative fuel source is beneficial. Most neurological orders have dysfunctional mitochondria. Mitochondria is where we use our fuel. Ketones seem to increase mitochondria. So the answer is, if it's a cognitive disorder, yes, it will likely be beneficial.
Ketones and concussions.
Ketones and concussion. This is an active area of research in our laboratory. So what happens? Right now we have like 30 of the top athletes in the world prepping for the biggest event for their lives, which is the NFL Combine. So the NFL Combine tests their strength, their power, their speed. Now these athletes, a lot of them, all of them have gotten concussions. Myself actually, I played hockey and I boxed. So, I've gotten multiple concussions. What happens when you have a concussion, you actually, your brain needs more energy because you've injured your brain. You need more energy to repair the brain. So it starts using glucose up really fast. Now here's the problem. Even though it's using glucose at a high rate, your brain can't take in glucose very well when it gets injured. So you need more energy, but you can't take in glucose. That's a problem. Turns out, though, you can use ketones. So lots of studies are showing now that ketones themselves are perfect during situations of a concussion because it's helping overcome the energy crisis. And the energy crisis causes secondary damage, so you heal much faster. But also, when you have a concussion, you have things like oxidative stress, which means like basically it's just like a lot of free radicals are going around your brain causing secondary damage. Ketones form a barrier around your cells that protect against oxidative stress. Finally, ketones seem to speed recovery from that concussion. So absolutely, I think that we should be using ketones as a prehab technique for athletes prior to getting concussion. And if someone has experienced traumatic brain injury from an accident, they should absolutely be taking ketones, no question.
I have high cholesterol. Is a ketogenic diet bad with high cholesterol?
Jeff Volek's laboratory has shown that when you have high cholesterol, a ketogenic diet, especially if you have a slight calorie deficit, lowers total cholesterol and raises HDL.
Would you recommend enzyme supplementation or even probiotic supplementation on a ketogenic diet?
I do. I do think that probiotics are really beneficial on a ketogenic diet. So yes. Amy Moore, what's up? You're the bomb, Amy. What other questions do you guys have? Ketones and Parkinson's, any research? Yes. Basically, we're seeing that. Here's the thing: Parkinson's disease. What ends up happening is that real brief, the cells in the brain. There's a part of the brain. Okay, it's called the basal ganglia. Okay, part of the brain called the basal ganglia. Okay, and in the basal ganglia, you have something called substantia nigra. Now, forget everything I just said there. There's a part of the brain that produces dopamine. Dopamine is really important for motor function. It's also important for not just movement, but inhibiting certain movement. So when dopamine is lower, I can't inhibit certain actions, so I might get shaky. And that would happen, tremors. That's going to happen with Parkinson's, okay? So why is that happening? Well, it turns out that in the brain, that brain that produces dopamine, they have lower mitochondria and they can't use glucose. Well, if you can't use glucose and you have high energy demands, remember the brain has high energy demands. If you can't use energy, those cells die. If the cells die that produce dopamine, you lose a lot of motor function and cells will keep dying. So what happens? The treatment is just give dopamine, but that doesn't solve the problem of the fact that your brain cells can't use glucose. So how do you solve it? You give an alternative energy source, which is ketones. So we've actually done like studies in our lab, case studies, where we give ketones and you see tremors go away. And you see motor function go up. And there's also a study that came out that basically 1 month of ketogenic dieting drastically improved all the symptomology of Parkinson's. So the answer is yes.
So Alicia is concerned because all the benefits that she said ketones would help with, brain fog, energy, all of that. She hasn't experienced any of the increases in or decrease in brain fog and increase in alertness.
Okay.
Is there any advice you can give her?
Yeah. Alicia, great question. I just had lunch with one of the world's top brain scientists in ketogenic dieting, Dr. Steve Cunnane. And Steve Cunnane did research where they found that cardio, even walking on the treadmill, increased brain uptake of ketones. So what may be happening, Alicia, is that you're not able to utilize the ketones to a full degree, and that if you do exercise, that will improve the transporters for ketones, and that combination may be money for you, and that's what I would recommend to you.
Does ketogenic dieting decrease the gut microbe?
Great question. A lack of fiber in the diet decreases beneficial bacteria. So a well-formulated ketogenic diet high in fiber might increase beneficial bacteria. A diet where someone's like, I'm cutting out all fiber, will lower it. So I don't know if it's ketogenic dieting. It's not. It's the lack of fiber in the diet. Alicia goes, I did a treadmill for 2 weeks. Nothing has changed. Alicia, it takes time. Exercise takes time, right? So that's the thing is, a lot of times people, for example, sometimes people will come to me and go, I want to gain a lot of muscle, right? Because people call me the muscle PhD. So people always ask me about muscle. And they'll go, I tried this program for 2 weeks, it didn't work. Remember, the keto lifestyle, the Keto operating system is a lifestyle, right? It's not something that you're talking about 2 weeks, it's your life. So this is something that you have to be consistent with over time to see those changes. You see adaptations with ketogenic dieting even a year out. So my advice would be more patience, and it'll come.
Ketones and nerve damage.
Well, that's that's a really good question. Going with brain research, ketones help. So again, you have neurons in your brain and they're helping there, so why not?
So a lot of questions on different forms of seizures. I know seizures stem from different reasons, but ketones and seizures.
Yeah, so basically there's a lot of research. In fact, when the heart of ketogenic dieting, really a lot of it stemmed from seizure research. In fact, if you go if you go all the way back to Socrates in the Greek days, and even in the Bible, they talked about treating seizures with fasting. Now, fasting causes a state of ketosis, and that seems to, and that can help with cancer. The whole Charlie Foundation, which Pruvit just donated a lot of money to, is based on ketogenic dieting and exogenous ketones. So the answer is yes. One of the things that we definitely have tons of overwhelming research is ketones and ketogenic dieting and seizures. So I would highly recommend that as a first line of defense. First off, I love everyone here. Super excited you guys all here. There's a lot of people here. I'm going to take 2 more questions.
Derek, ketones and alcohol, check back in the video.
Yeah, check back in the video. Ketones beneficial for autism. the studies thus far have been positive on ketones and autism. Again, autism, basically people with autism have a problem utilizing glucose, whereas they can use ketones.
Would you expand more on stress and cortisol with the use of ketones?
Yeah, so basically if I have high levels of stress, that raises things like cortisol. Cortisol causes a production of glucose in my blood, and that kicks me out of ketosis. So here's the thing. Even at very high levels of stress, you'll see me laughing and joking. You know, in fact, people say I live for stress, right? You know, I don't mind it. But the biggest thing is a couple things you understand about stress. Number one is this. The way you think about things. So one of my masters is in sports psychology. And my mentor, Dr. Donald Sawyer, always told me this. He goes, Wilson, the way you think about things drives the emotional response. The emotional response drives the physical response. Let me repeat that. The way you think about things drives an emotional response. The emotional response drives a physical response. Okay? So, or physiological response. Case in point. Say that you're a student and you have a big exam coming up, okay? Now you could think, oh my God, if I study for this exam, you know, if I don't do well in this exam, I'm not going to make it into my doctor's school, and my parents are going to disown me. I'm going to be working at a gas station the rest of my life. Like, that's not the way to think. You could also think like, you know what? This is one exam. I'm going to do my best, put all my cards on the table, and you know that's going to be good enough. You know, and there's a lot more to this semester in this exam. Now you have a different emotional response. The first one's anxiety, that drives cortisol, that kicks you out of ketosis. The second one is drives more of a calming response, right? And so you don't have as high cortisol, you don't get kicked out of ketosis. So remember, the whole Keto OS like lifestyle is really trying to promote health overall. And part of that is how you treat yourself, and part of that is how you think about yourself, okay? So in the biggest saying that when you went to the Keto Academy or the epic event, everyone says it is what? You or I freaking rock, right? Well, I'm going to tell you guys freaking rock. And you need to tell yourself over and over and over again positive things. Like, I rock. I'm a great person. I'm awesome. This is a phenomenal day. Replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, right? Think about it. You guys have your hands on something that no one else before us has had. 5 years ago, you would have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for one serving of ketones. If you're stressed out, just think about the fact that you can get them for pennies on the dollar today, right? And you have access to something that no one else had access to before. That is exciting. That should change your perspective. So guys, listen, that's the end of this talk. I had a super awesome time talking to you. I appreciate everyone here coming. Make sure you share this with all your friends. I'm going to see you guys at the end of March at Keto Academy in Orlando. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys, shaking your hands there. It's going to rock, and that's it. Thanks for the privilege of talking to you guys today. I'll catch you later.